What is up, you guys? Welcome back to the channel. Coming at you with another longevity upload. And for those of you out there that are longevity fiends like yours truly, trying to get the most out of life, not just from a quality of life standpoint, but also from a time extension standpoint, I've got for you the cheapest, simplest way to add years to your life. And for those of you that don't want to sit and watch the whole video, it is sleep. Yes, having a good sleep hygiene will add years to your life and in turn enhance your longevity. There is a study that was done last year by the American College of Cardiology. And the article citing that study is called Getting Good Sleep Could Add Years to Your Life. Having 5 low-risk sleep habits may have long-term benefits. So I'm going to go ahead and read the article for you guys. It's fairly short. It's not very long. And I'll go through really the key points from this article for those of you that are looking to enhance your longevity and add years to your life. So it goes along these lines. Getting good sleep can play a role in supporting your heart and overall health, and maybe even how long you live, according to new research being presented at the American College of Cardiology's annual scientific session, together with the World Congress of Cardiology. The study found that young people who have more beneficial sleep habits are incrementally less likely to die early. Moreover, the data suggests that about 8% of death from any cause could be attributed to poor sleep patterns. Now, note that they don't really get into the different variables here, but there's so much. It could be from the fact that your attention span is impacted from not sleeping well, and if you're doing dangerous work, you injure yourself and you die. It could be from the fact that your body doesn't have an opportunity to clear toxins during sleep across your brain, organs, and other systems. I mean, there's so much that sleep does for you. And 8%, it seems like a small percentage, but 8% of what number? I mean, when you factor that 8% to, let's say, 9 billion people on this planet, or 8 billion, whatever the number is, that's a lot. Okay? All right, let's continue with the article. We saw a clear dose, by the way, that's a quotation. We saw a clear dose response relationship. So the more beneficial factors someone has in terms of having higher quality of sleep, they also have a stepwise lowering of all cause and cardiovascular mortality, said Frank Kian, MD, an internal medicine resident physician at Beit Israel Deaconess Medical Center, clinical fellow in medicine at Harvard Medical School and co-author of the study. I think these findings emphasize that just getting enough hours of sleep isn't sufficient. You really have to have restful sleep and not have much trouble falling and staying asleep. Now, for those of you that are like myself, you drink a lot of caffeine, you're insomniac, you have a hard time falling asleep, and you have a hard time staying asleep. This is actually bad news because it means we're already undercutting our lifespan by not getting the deep, restorative, unconscious state of sleep where you enter REM. So this is something that definitely does need fixing, and it needs conscious, proactive fixing, because it's not just a matter of laying in bed and sleeping, but you actually need to get to that restful, deep sleep. And another thing is, if you're kind of like me, and when you are, let's say, thinking about work, or you're stressed out, you can't fall asleep, that's another problem. Just sitting in bed, lying down, and like hoping to God you fall asleep doesn't really work. And that's really what that study is emphasizing, is that your sleep really does end up being impacted if you don't pay attention to it. And for any of you out there that also hit the gym, for example, and you lift heavy, you know the impact and the difference a good night's sleeps make. If you go to the gym having not slept well, your lifts suffer a lot. If you are well rested, the weights feel significantly lighter. Okay? All right, let's continue with this article. For their analysis, Kian and team included data from 172,321 people, average age 50 and 54% women, who participated in the National Health Interview Survey between 2013 and 2018. This survey is fielded each year by the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention, CDC, and the National Center for Health Statistics to help gauge the health of the U.S. population, and includes questions about sleep and sleep habits. Kian said this is the first study to his knowledge to use a nationally representative population to look at how several sleep behaviors, and not just sleep duration, might influence a life expectancy. About 2/3 of study participants self-reported as being white, 14.5% Hispanic, 12.6% Black, and 5.5% Asian. Because researchers were able to link participants to the National Death Index records through December 31st, 2019, they could examine the association between individual and combined sleep factors and all-cause and cause-specific mortality. Participants were followed for a median of 4.3 years, during which time 8,681 individuals died. Of these deaths, 2,610 deaths, 30%, were from cardiovascular disease. 2,052, which is 24%, were from cancer, and 4,019, which is 46%, were due to other causes. Researchers assess 5 different factors of quality sleep using a low-risk sleep score they created based on answers collected as part of the survey. Factors included ideal sleep duration of 7 to 8 hours a night, difficulty falling asleep no more than 2 times a week, trouble staying asleep no more than 2 times a week, not using any sleep medication, and 5, feeling well rested after waking up at least 5 days a week. Each factor was assigned 0 or 1 point for each, for a maximum of 5 points, which indicated the highest quality sleep. Now, I'm going to pause here for a minute. For all those of you that just heard those 5 indicators and felt like you are failing in all of them, welcome to the club. You're not alone. Especially for those of you out there that suffer from, having a corporate job or running a business that consumes all your time, or you have any personal, psychological, spiritual challenges. A lot of these are gonna resonate with you as missed points. And for those of you out there that pass all these 5 indicators with high grades and accolades, I envy you. I envy you so much. Okay. All right. So let's continue. If people have all these ideal sleep behaviors, they are more likely to live longer, Kian said. So, if we can improve sleep overall and identify sleep disorders, especially important, we may be able to prevent some of this premature mortality. For the analysis, researchers controlled for other factors that may have heightened the risk of dying, including lower socioeconomic status, smoking and alcohol consumption, and other medical conditions. Compared to individuals who had 0 to 1 favorable sleep factors, those who had all five were 30% less likely to die for any reason, 21% less likely to die from cardiovascular disease, 19% less likely to die from cancer, and 40% less likely to die of causes other than heart disease or cancer. Keon said that these other disease deaths are likely due to accidents, infections, or neurodegenerative diseases, such as dementia and Parkinson's disease, but more research is needed. Among men and women who reported having all five quality sleep measures, a score of 5, life expectancy was 4.7 years greater for men and 2.4 years greater for women, compared with those who had none or only one of the five favorable elements of low risk sleep. More research is needed to determine why men with all five low risk sleep factors had double the increase in life expectancy compared with women who had the same quality sleep. I mean, I'm no scientist, but this is just if you spend enough time around men or women and just reading over the years, women tend to live longer anyways because of estrogen. There's a lot of research on that. Estrogen increases the basically lifespan of your brain and heart. So women have more estrogen, obviously decreases with time, but the overall larger quantity of estrogen circulating within their system compared to men enhances their lifespan and brain and heart preservation. So it's probably, again, I'm not saying this as somebody that studied this or knows a lot, but that would be a factor there as to why you see sleep impacting men more than women, because women already have a bias when it comes to enhanced lifespans. So even if you see increases, they're gonna be negligible. Like in this, I mean, 2.4 years is not, but relative to men, it would be. The other thing to take into consideration is that just generally speaking, women tend to, on average, from my experience, just observing, not surveying or asking, they tend to have better, healthier habits, long run wise, compared to men. So, if the baseline for women is already high, just improving sleep will be a slight incremental increase, like a small increment, I mean. But for men, it would be significant because a lot of men just really, even when they don't smoke or drink, there's a lot of other bad habits involved. So, yeah, just me theorizing here, but I'm actually not surprised to see that the sleep helps the men more than the women in terms of number of years. Because, I mean, there's a lot of other factors. And this study, that's the other thing, is that this study is based on surveying. So I'm not sure. We'll go through it and see if they later mention limitations. But the problem was with surveying versus observing is that with surveying, a lot of the questions asked are open to interpretation as well as different understandings based on an individual's subjective life experience. So that's actually one of the things I would pick on in the study here. Not to say, I mean, theoretically, the framework they have with the 5 indicators is actually really good. But in terms of just the quality of data and insights, I would say, a survey is actually rather a weak way of doing it. But hey, any information is better than nothing at all. And the reason I mentioned this is that would also impact the quality of the findings, and therefore why you can see this almost 2.5 year gap between men and women in terms of enhancement of years in life. Okay? All right, let's continue. Even from a young age, if people can develop these good sleep habits of getting enough sleep, making sure they are sleeping without too many distractions, and have good sleep hygiene overall, can greatly benefit their overall long term health. Keon said, adding that for the present analysis, they estimated gains in life expectancy starting at age 30. But the model can be used to predict gains at older ages too. It's important for younger people to understand that a lot of health behaviors are cumulative over time. Just like we like to say, it's never too late to exercise or stop smoking. It's also never too early, and we should be talking about and assessing sleep more often. These sleep habits can be easily asked about during clinical encounters, and researchers hope patients and clinicians will start talking about sleep as part of their overall health assessment and disease management planning. So, I'm going to pause here and feed into this. Even the wording, hope, and health assessment, disease management planning. If any of you have dealt with doctors, you understand that a lot of doctors aren't aware of these things. A lot of doctors are reactive, not proactive. Your doctor, really, at the end of the day, is just there to react to symptoms you have. The doctor does not cure but manage symptoms. And let's face it, in the age of the internet and widely disseminated information, your doctor is nothing more than a drug dealer at this point. And most likely, you wouldn't even go to your doctor if you didn't need a prescription. You would just sit online, self diagnose, and then go ahead and buy the drug you need to cure yourself. For those of you that are empowered and like to seek information for yourself. For those of you that don't, unfortunately, you're reliable on doctors. You have to rely on doctors, and I mean, sooner or later you learn very quickly that most doctors don't know fuck all when it comes to healing people. They're just educated and trained to manage symptoms and push the most drugs they get commissions on, which is an unfortunate reality. And I'm not saying that to shit on doctors. Doctors are needed and necessary. It's just that the framework under which they operate, let's say, isn't very conducive for the general public health, and there are reasons for that. I mean, they're there just to manage the overall health state of the populace, not your own individual unique needs, which is why if you need individual attention, you tend to have to pay a premium, go to private clinics, and it shouldn't be that way. It really shouldn't. But hey, when resources are taken into consideration, time and money, and that's another part of it, is that health has become a commodity. And once you commoditize a necessity like health, guess what? It's just the quality of it goes down the drain. Because then it's just a numbers game. But anyways, just a little bit of a rant on my frustrations with the medical system. All right. One limitation, okay, here we go. So they are getting into the limitation. One limitation of the study is that sleep habits were self-reported and not objectively measured or verified. There you go, to my point that I mentioned earlier. So, by the way, I scanned this article quickly. I didn't read it fully, but even from my quick scan, having done studies before myself, not in health, but just understanding statistics and whatnot, I recognize the inherent limitations of the study, right? Anytime you're collecting answers rather than directly and objectively observing, there's a limitation and there's going to be errors. So there's going to be standard deviation measurements and whatnot. But anyways, this is not a statistics class. All right. So again, one limitation of the study is that sleep habits were self-reported and not objectively measured or verified. In addition, no information was available about the types of sleep aid or medicine used or how often or long participants used them. Future research is needed to understand how these gains in life expectancy might continue as people age, as well as further explore the sex differences that were observed. Previous studies have shown that getting too little or too much sleep can negatively affect the heart. It's also been widely reported that sleep apnea, a sleep disorder that causes someone to pause or stop breathing while asleep, can lead to a number of heart conditions, including high blood pressure, atrial fibrillation, and heart attacks. All right, so that's it, you guys, for the study. So the real 5 takeaways from this is that, one, you need to sleep at least 7 to 8 hours a night. 2, you don't want to have a difficulty falling asleep more than 2 times a week. 3, you do not want to have trouble staying asleep more than 2 times a week. 4, you do not want to use sleeping aids to fall asleep. And 5 is that every time you wake up, you want to actually feel rested and well recuperated at least 5 times a week. And I'm going to throw a 6th one in here, and that for the guys, a good indicator that you had a good night's sleep is actually having nightly erections for at least 30% of your sleep. For the ladies, that would typically speaking be more on the lubrication side of things. Okay, and I'll leave it at that because I don't want YouTube age restricting this. But yeah, I mean, none of this really is new. A lot of this has been around for decades now. But yeah, you need good sleep because a lot of your recuperative, repair, maintenance, and regenerative processes in your body take place while you're asleep. A lot of the toxin clearance from your system also takes place while you're asleep. So it's very, very important to get your sleep hygiene in a place. And like I said, it is challenging given modern day life and a lot of the responsibilities we have to have a good sleep hygiene. Okay, so it's understandable if you have a few factors that you can't manage appropriately to have that sleep hygiene, but you got to do the best you can. Okay, there's actually sleep coaches out there now that help you to get better sleep. There's quite a bit of tools, including your smartwatches that measure the quality of your sleep, but there's so many resources out there to help you achieve better sleep and in turn control one of the variables that enhances your longevity and quality of life. Okay, so yeah, just thought to share this out there with you guys. For those of you that are looking for that longevity edge, here's another simple, cost-effective, free way to enhance your longevity. And yeah, hopefully this has been helpful. As per usual, I very much appreciate your time and attention, and I'll see you in the next one. Cheers.